So as mentioned in the beginning of our show, a lot of spacewalk preparation happening. One spacewalk happened earlier this week. Joining me now to give us a little more insight, the lead EVA officer for Increment 42, Alex Kanelakos. Alex, thanks so much for joining me. I've had you here a few times, one of my EVA experts, so I really appreciate you. You're just coming off console, aren't you?
That's right. I spent the evening from 11 p.m. Central Time to 8 p.m. working console work. We're in between the two EVAs, planned EVAs this fall.
All right, well, I'll try to make it quick so we can get you home and get some sleep. So, as I mentioned, we had one spacewalk successfully done earlier this week on Tuesday. Tell me a little bit, what happened? How did it go?
All right, so we had two crew members go out the door, and Reid, Wiseman, and Alex Gerst went out the door, and both of them were rookie astronauts as far as spacewalks are concerned.
First time.
First time, and we haven't actually done that in quite a while, so it was really neat to see them go out the door. They did a great spacewalk. It was about 6 hours and 13 minutes.
Okay.
And their major tasks were to perform a pump module relocate. So back in December, we performed two spacewalks to repair a pump module, and the failed one was left in a not optimal location. And so this, the beginning of this spacewalk, we moved that from the non-optimal location to a good spare location.
Okay.
And then the rest of the day was spent kind of getting ready for kind of subsequent EVAs that we have coming up. So one of them was we retrieved a light that had a burnt out bulb. And right now, Alex is doing some IVA work, some work inside to replace that bulb. And we'll actually take that bulb outside on the next EVA and install it in a new location.
Oh, so that's going right back out.
It's going right back out.
And what was that light used for?
So several of our lights outside are used in conjunction with cameras.
Okay.
So especially during night passes, we can get better views from our cameras. A lot of times our cameras are used for EVAs, or they are also used for robotics. And so when the crew members are flying the arm, the Canadian robotic arm, they need really good views to watch for clearances and make sure that the arm's not going to run into anything.
Don't want to smash into anything. Got to be careful.
Right. So that's what that light was used for.
Okay, and so that were there any other tasks?
The other major task was installing a relay box to our MT, which is our mobile transporter. And what this relay box does is it allows the MT to have more redundancy in case it lost some power.
Okay, so like he just said, one EVA in the bag and another one coming up next week. And we're going to be switching up crew members a little bit into some different tasks. Tell us about what's going to be happening
That's right.
next week.
So Reid Wiseman will go out again as EV1, and joining him is Butch Wilmore. Butch will be EV2, and they will go out and actually do a remove and replace of the sequential shunt unit. And where there's several of these on board, and one of them has failed, and basically this unit shunts the arrays from the batteries and kind of manages power levels when we're charging our batteries.
So kind of like a voltage regulator almost.
That's exactly right. And so this unit will be R&R'd. It's one of 8 that will be removed and replaced. And so we'll do that at the very beginning of the EVA. It involves some pretty rigorous timing. We have to perform this in an eclipse, so it has to be night out during this portion. And our eclipse times are only about 30 minutes, so the crew has to be very efficient during this portion of the spacewalk. And then after that, they'll go into doing kind of a little leapfrog activity with several cameras, lights, and antennas. And so we're getting ready to relocate our permanent logistics module on Space Station to a new location on Node 3. We're moving it from Node 1 to Node 3. And in order to do that, we have to relocate a lot of antennas and cameras. And so for the rest of the EVA, they're basically removing one camera and stanchion and putting it somewhere else, and then they're taking another one and moving it another place. And also this allows us to optimize our camera and antenna reception that we get for EVAs.
Okay, so kind of clearing the way for that relocate and moving things around. And again, a lot of this work being done on these EVAs is getting us ready for a lot coming up. I mean, I'm pretty sure starting January, we're going to have a lot more spacewalks coming up on station. Why don't you, and this is going to be increment 42,
right.
which you're the guy. You're the one that's got to make sure that he's going to go off without a hitch. So what are you guys getting ready for coming up next year?
So right now, actually, in the next several years, we have quite a wall of spacewalks ahead of us,
Okay.
and so a lot of them deal with space station reconfig. And we're moving several modules. We're about to receive 2 international docking adapters, which will allow our commercial crew vehicles to dock to the International Space Station.
Very important.
And in order to do all these relocates and installs, we have to get the station reconfigured, both from a power standpoint and data standpoint, as well as just getting camera views correct. And so that's what we'll be doing in January as well. We have 2, potentially 3 scheduled EVAs, in which we will be routing cables to supply power, heating power, and data to the international docking adapters when they arrive. One's arriving in 2015, and one will be arriving in 2016. Additionally, in those EVAs, we are going to lubricate the Canadian end effector on the arm, the Canadian arm end effector. And right now, it's just having some high currents when it's going to latch onto certain payloads. So in order to reduce those currents, we're actually going to lubricate several of the screws and drivers that are involved in when we latch.
Okay.
As well as we're going to be removing several covers that allow these international docking adapters to install onto the International Space Station.
Okay, well, like you said, wall of EVAs, a lot of work coming up for these crews on board the station. A lot of work being done last week and next week, or this week and next week. A lot to come. Going to be a whole new station once all that stuff gets moved around and installed and ready for commercial crews. So it's going to be a really exciting time. Alex, thanks so much for joining me here today. Really appreciate it. And we're going to be looking forward to these spacewalks. They're always really interesting, always great to see. Glad this week went off without a hitch, getting ready for next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.